You know, a lot of times my life reminds me of that song, I've Got a Tiger by the Tail. You know, getting involved in skateboarding industry stuff, you know, being a happy skateboard kid, and then becoming an adult and wanting to make a difference. But this kind of thing makes it all better. I'm going to shoot some of these boards. I hope you can hear me okay. These boards all need, they've all been first coated and second coated. And it's time for a rub down with like a 200 grit on a sponge. I just staple it on and just knock down the finish a little bit. Knock down the finish and then a final coat here. I'm using the light to see what the bead is, and I pay particularly close attention to the edge of the board. The edges of my boards have like 8 coats on them. Now this is not high gloss, this is a satin, sometimes a matte finish, but this is how I do it. Anywhere that there's paint on the board, it absorbs the finish more slowly, doesn't absorb as deeply. That bothers me. I don't like paint, but I do think it is important for boards to look good. Otherwise, you won't sell them. So you know, it's a trade-off. These are all actually about 3 coats deep, maybe 4. These last 2, yeah, knucklehead is right over. Where's that knucklehead? Yeah, Dustin, your knucklehead's in this back. Where's Dustin's knucklehead? It's in this batch. Hang on, I want to go look for it. Come on, let's go look for that knucklehead. Is this it? No. Those aren't it. This isn't it. That one's not it. Those aren't it. Let's see. That's Bob. That's a classic. Where's that knucklehead? Where's that knucklehead at? Where is that thing? Here it is. Bada boom. Knucklehead. There it is. It's just starting to finish today. Yep. There's Dustin's knucklehead. And this one is Chris Gurley's. Final coat. What is this? Just close the door. There you go. this is the first coat going on this one. I've already done the edges 2 times all the way through from the top. So I do the edges sideways from the top 2 times. Then I do the edges sideways from the top 2 times on the bottom. Then when I do the finished coats, you got like 3 or 4 coats on the edges. I like the edges to be nicely sealed. Even though they feel like a satin finish, they got a lot of poly in them. Okay, so what I'm doing here, the room is clear. There's virtually no aerosol in the air in the room here, because my down fan to a filter beneath the floor is pulling really hard. Plus, I've got the doorway open with a fresh fan pulling fresh toward here. I have a ceiling fan that there was a giant hole in the ceiling over there. Let's see if I can get a view of it for you. And so that hole in the ceiling up there, I mounted a fan that draws, there's a huge space between the floors in this building, like super old building. And so I'm pulling fresh air. That space has like wind in it. I'm pulling fresh air from between the floors down. I'm pulling fresh air from the doorway back. I'm pulling, I'm spraying directly over a large vent fan to a filter downward, and I've got another minor fan over here that's just irrigating fresh air over here. So I'm spraying in a virtually overspray free environment. This is a first spray on a deck, and when you do your first coat of spray, it does something that's kind of neat. It takes that finish that you did, you did a 240 finish on it or a 180 finish on it. I do both 180 and 240 finishes. They're both smooth. The industry standard runs at 150. Not to say that I'm better than anyone. I'm just a guy, and I'm trying to do something for skateboarders. I'm not trying to be like anyone's nemesis over here. Although I will step to it if you bully kids. But all of the loose ends of the grain that are laying flat after sanding, when that first layer of finish gets put on, it's water-based, it raises them up. So all the lumps come up. And this is Dustin Hoffman's board right here. And so all the lumps come up after the first coat. While the first coat is still tacky and setting in, on goes the second. Chris, I want to show you. This is Dustin's board. Chris, here's your board. You can look back and you can actually see me talking about it. Here's your board, Chris, the Red Lobster. I did all my lobsters red this batch. I like it better in red. And thank you for the kind things you guys say. And thank you all for the patience of waiting. I spend up to a third of my life curled up in a ball. The neat thing about curling up in a ball is like later on I can kind of turn it to the side and get on my knees and start again. That's what I do. I get on my knees and I start again. So before I do this last board final coat, I've now waited long enough. I can see this coat is tacking up. It's getting tacky, and it's time for me to hit it with just another quick coat. I don't want it to start spilling. Sometimes you get a board from me and I'll have a little spill on it, a little bit of a drip mark on it. I don't fix those, but I try to avoid them. Okay, and now you can see something really neat. Check this out. Now you can see the bumps in the finish are rising. See all the bumps and the lumps rising up? Look at that. And that's because when that water-based finish first goes on a deck, no matter how smooth you sanded it, it's got lots of loose ends of the grain, and they come up, they float up, they fluff up. And that's okay, because here's one, and the grain has done that. It shrinks back down when it cures, but it's rough. A lot of my boards come out without me even touching that. I like that roughness in the finish personally, but because I don't know, because I've started getting some class, I've started to do, well, about a year ago, I started to just take 200 grain, worn, gentle, and just give a light buffing. And you can do this with a deck and then just ship it, because it's not taking anything down past the finish, nothing. And now it's quite smooth. And when it takes its last coat, it will be pretty darn smooth. And Kung Fu Lube, out of sync. Now the tops I leave as rough as I can. The tops I don't do that to, because the top should hold your grip tape, and I do not fine tune the top finish, because it should be rough. The top of a skateboard should be rough, and it should hold your grip tape well. I want that surface area to be intact on the top. So my tops are rough, my bottoms are smooth. And you know, one day I might fix that too. Might get a nice nice low pressure, high volume kit in here one day. Those are like $1,000. And if I ever do upgrade to a high pressure, low volume, I will, I'm going to shoot this one without the mask, because the fresh air is literally rushing down the hole. I don't want you guys to think you can just come around and shoot things or not tuck your beard away or like that. I don't mean to give that impression. When I'm doing batches through, I'm safer than that. Okay, thank you guys for joining me here in the shop today. I have final paint to do on this one, and this guy's getting a Bulldog graphic, and so why don't I start up a feed in another 10 minutes, and we'll do that, because you know, I've kind of incorporated the live feed into my day a little better. This is the wheel well deck, and you guys have been with me through that saga of wheel welling. And yeah, all you first time orders on Crawdads, your decks are done and shipping as soon as they're cured and packaged, and then bada boom, bada bing. And I am the guy, it's my fault, and the buck stops here. And I care dearly about all of you, and am every day getting myself into the action to make sure you guys get a skateboard that you can depend on. So hey, I'm gonna finish off this one, then I'm gonna go set up paint and put paint on this and get it into finish today, because that will be, this batch will be done, and I'll be cutting and pressing. I already have 6 of the next batch, 7 of the next batch pressed, 8 of the next batch pressed and ready to, I'm sorry, yeah, 8 of them pressed, and I've got another probably 12 to press for the next batch, which is like pretty quick. That's a one-day deal while I'm doing the rest of it. So thank you all so much for joining me here in the workshop. I'll be back at you in a few minutes. These are gonna, I have a lot of backup on my YouTube. I'll have to upload a whole bunch of videos. They won't be properly dated. You'll have to sort through them to find what you're looking for. I apologize for that. I have 0 priority to become a YouTuber. I do not like
the mechanics, the personal mechanics of being on YouTube. But I do want you to have access to these videos. Some of these videos, when I order, you know, they mention your order number. You know, if I die a tragic death someday, your order number mentioned in a video, it's probably worth a lot. God bless you guys. Thanks. Love you, Mom.